Let's look at a number of ways we can get more out of our Harbor Freight Chicago Electric 10-inch table saw. One thing that's important to me is to have good stability while I'm cutting. So as you can see here, I've mounted mine to a 24 by 48 inch piece of plywood. I've passed bolts up through the top and using wing nuts, I've then bolted it down to my bench. I happen to be using a Workmate 425, which weighs about 35 pounds, and I really like it because it gives me that additional stability. And then also, if I want to lower it a little bit, I can also fold up those legs and set it down a little bit lower, taking it down about another 9 inches. So the first thing is to have good stability. Many times we take for granted electrical power, so I want to talk about that for a minute. The black cord on the right is the one that comes with your table saw, and you notice that has 3 prongs, the third one being for grounding. And then this white one in the center is a typical household extension cord, and it only has a place for 2 prongs, no grounding going on here. And you notice how thin the wires are. They're not very thick, and they're not going to carry the amount of voltage necessary for it to support your 13 amp capability that comes with this saw. So you need to go with something more like this, which is 16 gauge or better. If you can get a 12 gauge, that's even better than the one that you see here. So you want to make sure that you have the right power cord to plug your table saw into. The next thing we want to think about is waxing your tabletop. And I recommend that you find some kind of paste wax like you see here that has carnauba as the base wax. Now, why do you want to wax your tabletop? Well, first of all, you want the surface to be smooth so that your workpieces flow across it easily. And secondly, you want to prevent oxidation. So even if you're ripping 4x8 sheets of plywood or you're cross-cutting, say, 2x4s, you still want this slick so your work slides easily into the blade and, of course, prevents oxidation. Now, I actually took the time. You can see the reflection of the can in the surface of the table, and that's because I actually took the time to sand this down all the way to 400 grit sandpaper. Now, obviously, that voided my warranty, but I wanted a much slicker surface because I'm going to be working on some shelving that has a fine finish already, and I don't want to be resanding it. I want that work to flow through, and I don't want to have to refinish it when I'm done. Once you wax your tabletop, you obviously want to protect it. I just took some of the packing material that came in the box, and I placed it on top. Yes, the riving knife does stick up into it. I've cut a slot back here, as you can see, back in this area, so the riving knife stays in there. I found it easier just to leave the riving knife in and put the styrofoam on top. Of course, you can get other styrofoam and do the same thing. And then what I do is I put a piece of cardboard on top of that. Okay? So once I've done that, then I can set my fence and my other equipment on top of this, and I'm not worried about it getting scratched or damaged at all. And it's keeping that wax surface clean. I also want to point out that I never use my table saw for a workbench. I only use it for cutting wood. I don't set soda cans on it. I don't put paint cans on it. I don't paint anything on it. The only thing I do with it is saw and cut. So find something, you can put a quilt over it, just something to protect the surface of your table saw so that it's always clean and it's always smooth for your workpieces. I like to use 2 push sticks anytime I'm ripping a piece of lumber. So one to advance the piece into the blade and the other one to keep it up against the fence as I'm going through, okay? So when you have a chance, pick up another one or make one of your own. I like this orange because it's less likely to get lost in the shop. Plus it's more visual when I'm looking at the workpiece and I'm working on the saw. The miter gauges that come with these 10-inch saws leaves much to be desired. This is one from an older Ryobi table saw, and as you can see it's very narrow. It's about the same width as this one that comes with the Harbor Freight saw. So it does present some problems. So as you can see, when you want to cut a larger workpiece like this, do a crosscut, you don't have a lot of control. So what you can do is you can find a piece of wood about this wide, and I've cut this so it comes right to the edge of the table. And then what you want to do is make it just long enough so that it just comes past your blade guard like that. And all you have to do is line it up, put a couple of screws in, and now you have a much better miter, and it gives you much better control, wider control on your workpiece. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video and you've gotten something out of it. If you have, please press like. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. I've got some more videos coming. And as always, good luck on your projects.